I've found 5 players that Tottenham need to sign in January to fix their biggest problems. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain how they fix their attacking woes, their midfield mayhem, and their defensive instability. And we'll start with Thomas Frank's biggest issue, and that is his attack. Compared to last season under Ange Postecoglou, it's like chalk and cheese. Injuries to Dominic Solanke, Dan Kulusevski, and James Maddison haven't helped matters, and also Heung-min Son leaving earlier in the summer have meant that around 60 goal contributions have left the side, as I say, through injury and transfers. And what with the recent news about Brennan Johnson leaving the club in January as well, Tottenham need to bolster this attack. And with, as I say, Brennan Johnson leaving, it opens up something for the left wing spot, which is, I think, going to be a key area for Tottenham to explore. They've missed out on the signing of Antoine Semenyo. He is heading to Manchester City, and the likes of Tel Odebear have not really been able to get this position as their own. Mohamed Kudus has got that right-hand slot. Obviously, we've got Dan Kulusevski to come back from injury as well. So there is a winger in the market that I think Tottenham should be going for. The striker department is also one that Spurs could be exploring, and recently Ben Jacobs has highlighted a few names which could work.
What about the Egyptian Omar Marmoush? Yeah. Tottenham are reportedly having interest in him, the 26-year-old. Hasn't really got going at Manchester City, has he? So is that a possibility, that move, do you think?
As far as I'm aware at the moment, yes, Tottenham are looking at a new number 9 in 2026, not necessarily in January. No reason at this stage to believe that Omar Marmoush is that leading name. There could maybe more be a scenario in the summer where Ivan Toney, who won't leave Saudi Arabia mid-season, could come into Tottenham's thinking if he decides to leave Saudi Arabia at the end of the season. I think Manchester City feel that Omar Marmoush will continue to grow in the Premier League. My information is that they don't want to sell, and they believe that he fulfills 2 roles. 1, the kind of old Kevin De Bruyne position, and 2, cover/competition for Erling Haaland. And more likely, if we're talking about Tottenham and Man City business, is still Savinho. And if a situation arises where Antoine Semenyo picks the blue half of Manchester, keep an eye on Tottenham making a fresh approach for Savinho. But I'm told it's all quiet at the moment between Spurs, Manchester City and Omar Marmoush.
Of course, everyone's going to talk about Antoine Semenyo, and we will in a minute, but much more concrete, apparently, is the moves around Tottenham wide player and striker, of course, leading goal scorer for Spurs last season, Brennan Johnson. What's the latest?
Yeah, so Brennan Johnson is expected to leave Tottenham during the winter window, paving the way for them to add another left-sided attacker, but probably someone that can also play through the middle. And Crystal Palace have tried to move really fast here, and they've succeeded in reaching an agreement in principle with Tottenham for what I understand to be £33.5 million. And the reason why Palace wanted to be quick is because they realised that there would be other suitors. The problem is that Brennan Johnson hasn't yet said yes. It's not to say he doesn't want the move, but the Wales international is waiting to see who else comes forwards. Bournemouth are obviously one to watch when you consider that Antoine Semenyo is on the verge of joining Manchester City. But I'm also told, as we revealed earlier on talkSPORT, Everton and Sunderland are both considering a move as well. So it looks like Palace want to get a move on, but Brennan Johnson has put the brakes on and he's inviting other offers before making his final decision. But there's enough interest and people prepared to pay the valuation. Tottenham's fee when they signed Johnson was £47.5 million. They're prepared to do a deal for under £35 million. And I do expect some other formal offers in the coming days before Brennan Johnson finally makes his decision as to where he wants to go. And Crystal Palace face a bit of a nervous wait to see whether it's them.
He'll always remain a hero to me, of course, because he apparently put that ball across the line in the Europa League final.
Are you surprised, Danny? I'm very surprised at this. As a Spurs fan, are you surprised at this, Danny?
Yes and no. Yes, because it'll mean it'll be the 3rd year running that Spurs have let their leading goal scorer from the previous season go within a few months, Kane, Son, Johnson. No, because he doesn't seem as effective on the left-hand side as he is on the right. And Mohamed Kudus has kind of taken that position from him. Spurs have got a lot of very similar wide players. There's a really good player in there. Johnson's a really good player. But if the manager doesn't fancy him, and if Kudus has completely taken his obvious spot in the team, Spurs have been criticised over the years, Charlie, for not selling their players at the right time. And I suspect if they can get 35 million for him, or 33.5, Ben, it's probably the right time. Also, you know, he hasn't played very much, and these young players, it's a waste of talent to, you know, it's not like he's even coming off the bench regularly. He doesn't always get on the pitch. So, yes, I'm surprised, but no, I understand the logic of it, I guess is the question. Wide players who can score goals, all the rage, Ben. What's the latest on Antoine Semenyo? Because we heard earlier on, I think it was Jamie O'Hara saying Manchester City have already got, you know, what they've got, and now they look like they're adding what he described as the best player outside of the top 6 in England.
Yeah, and I think this deal will happen. We revealed yesterday on talkSPORT that the formalisation could come within 48 hours. Manchester City want to move fast so they can avoid any potential surprises, although it's all quiet at the moment on the Liverpool front. The fee is expected to be 65 million via that release clause, but it's actually more like 60 plus add-ons, and then from Bournemouth's point of view, they can classify a solidarity payment, taking the total book valuation for them to 65 million pounds. Bristol City get a cut as well, so it's a great deal for them. And the parties have basically been negotiating two things in the last 24 hours. The first is the payment terms. Some release clauses, they're very rigid, like Matheus Cunha to Manchester United, and you either match the payment structure or you walk away. Whereas in this instance, Bournemouth are prepared to negotiate, and that's kind of what's taken place in the last 24 hours. And we're very close now to an agreement in principle. And yet, from Bournemouth's point of view, a slight delay is a good thing because they've got a busy festive period. And the expectation at the moment, anyway, let's see if it changes throughout the day. But right now, it appears like Semenyo will be in the Bournemouth squad for Chelsea. And then after that game is out the way, finalise his move to Man City, which will pave the way for Oscar Bobb to go out on loan somewhere. Dortmund are one of the suitors. Spurs might be tempted to come back in for Savinho. He's one of their left-sided options still if Man City change their mind about selling. And also for Spurs, by the way, Diomande is another player on their radar as well. So I think Man City are going to be busy, not just in terms of Semenyo. They want a midfielder as well, either for January or the summer. And then some outgoings from some of their many wingers are going to be necessary. Otherwise, that squad is going to appear a bit too bloated, assuming, as we expect, Semenyo arrives.
So then I've devised a little shortlist including some of these players, and we'll start with Omar Marmoush. Now, Omar Marmoush has been slightly linked with a move to Tottenham Hotspur. I believe it probably won't happen compared to some of the other transfers that could, because he still has a future at Manchester City. He's going to probably be used as a backup to Erling Haaland, and also can be played on the wing depending on, you know, the injuries that they have in the squad at the time. You know, Jeremy Doku's been going for an injury. They're bringing in Semenyo, which I said earlier. Oscar Bobb could be moved on, who I'll mention shortly towards the end of this video as a wildcard option. But there are also some other players where I think, you know, that could maybe get this mantle down as a potential starting striker come winger for Spurs. I think striker is quite important when we talk about this. But what I like about Omar Marmoush is he can play the 10, he can play as probably a false 9 come striker, he can play on the left as well. I think he would be a great overall package for Spurs, but probably not in our price range. But a player that keeps being linked with Spurs and from Manchester City to Spurs is Savinho. Now, Savinho is an interesting character, and I was really up for bigging him up in the summer for a move to Tottenham. I thought his age range and his profile really made a lot of sense. But my problem with Savinho is it's been quite a poor season for him thus far. He's not had many chances, not been really able to get amongst the goals, and really, with the evolution of Jeremy Doku at Manchester City, it looks like this player is one that divides opinion, I will say. I feel like there is still a player in there, but we're not seeing it in Manchester City. They were really keen to keep him, I mean, which was quite a surprise. And it gives me that feeling of Jack Grealish, who's obviously gone from Manchester City to Everton on loan this year, and we've seen him be able to flourish in a system where he's able to, you know, be that maverick. Maybe Savinho is that sort of player who could do that for Spurs. Let me know in the comments down below. But before we go any further and talk about some more attacking options, a large majority of you watching this right now are not not subscribed to the Stone Talk Spurs YouTube channel. So get down below, hit the button, hype it as well, and leave your likes and comments. Who do you want to sign in the January transfer window? Let's get on with the video. And I mentioned strikers there, and there's a striker out in the market at the moment who is looking on tip-top form, and that is Samu Aghehowa from Porto. Now, you might remember, this name does sound quite familiar, and if you're sitting there going, I remember this name, he's been linked with Newcastle. He actually had quite a close move to Chelsea that fell through. He's now plying his trade in the Portuguese league for FC Porto, and his goal stats are quite incredible. My one worry is we've seen how Victor Gyökeres has adapted to this league, or not adapted to this league. So there is somewhat of a question mark over if he can translate this, but he's powerful, he's strong. And we look at the current striker situation at Spurs, it's quite dismal. Dane Scarlett's not going to get a chance. Richarlison, I'm still not convinced, even after some of his offside goals at the weekend. You've still got Dominic Solanke, who's forever injured. Randall Colomwani, should that be made permanent? I'm not so sure. So there is the option there for an out-and-out striker. He's strong, he's big, and he is the sort of profile that I think would really work well in this Tottenham Hotspur team. Going back to wingers, and a winger who is being linked with us incredibly is Yan Diomande from RB Leipzig. We have been to RB Leipzig to sign some players already in 2025. That was obviously in the shape of Xavi Simons. Yan Diomande heavily linked with a move from RB Leipzig to the Premier League, and at 19 years of age, his stats are absolutely incredible. My one worry again is Timo Werner. No, I'm joking, but I just feel like this is again a player for the future, an up-and-coming star. The Ivorian looks really, really good. But again, one of those ones where I'm just like, I'm not so sure. It's funny how we've been linked to players, involved with like AFCON all of a sudden, and players who aren't available. This sort of sums us up at the moment. But yeah, really like the look of Yan Diomande for that attack. I feel like the attack is something that needs fixing by Thomas Frank and Tottenham Hotspur this January window. So that will be key going forward. Another massive issue is the midfield. Now, I guess there's some really good individual midfielders at Tottenham Hotspur. We've seen recently Archie Gray come to the fore and really announce himself on the scene after scoring his first senior goal, and he was really happy about that.
Hi Spurs fans, I'm really happy to score the goal, and the most important thing is the 3 points, and I just want to say a massive thank you for the support throughout the whole of 2025. It's been incredible, and let's bring it into the new year, and we'll keep the results going. So yeah, thank you very much.
And then you've also had like Lucas Bergvall come good. Bentancur still gets minutes. João Palhinha, jury out on him. Papa Matassar, who's at AFCON, who's been really, really good. But what I'm seeing from this midfield is no one who's able to really control it. I think Archie Gray could be that player, but at the moment, again, the jury's quite out on that. And what we're seeing in the current market is, that out-and-out six, be really, really vital. I mean, my go-to would be Adam Wharton, where a lot of people called off of Adam Wharton recently. I think he was one of the best players on the pitch when Palace faced Spurs recently. A lot of people now talking about Elliott Anderson, Carlos Balaba's future still up in the air. I mean, I still like Angelo Stiller from Stuttgart. I think that would be a really, really good acquisition. These players control the ball, really dictate the play. And I think that's where Tottenham are lacking, especially. I think Adam Wharton, though, wouldn't really happen in January, especially with the situation around Mark Gahey. But, with Brennan Johnson potentially going to Palace, could a deal be struck there? I hope so. And then we have the defence. Now, Tottenham's defence, I think on paper, looks quite good. I think some of the individuals have been all right this season. Jed Spence, Pedro Porro, Destiny Udogie. Then you have Christian Romero, Kevin Danzo, Mickey van der Ven, Brady Dragason's coming back from injury, Kota Takai, where's he been? So what I'd say from the defence is, where are we lacking? Now, a backup left back is what worries me in this current market. Destiny Udogie has not been, that fit after his surgery. Jed Spence is being expected to play left back and right back. I think he's still more favourable as the right back. Pedro Porro, again, we don't want to have him playing the max amount of minutes. And then that left-sided centre-back is still an option where we could explore, because, Mickey van der Ven still has those injury troubles. But I think, there are the potentials where you could bring a versatile player. We've seen how good it has been for Arsenal, where they've had the likes of Timber and Ben White and Calafiori, who can play, left back, left centre back. Hincapié is another one as well. And I'd say the perfect position for this, age profile as well, based on some experience, who will be happy enough to play backup, is Nathan Ake from Manchester City. Yes, we're going back to Manchester City. Nathan Ake, I think, would be perfect. He's actually reportedly turned down a move to West Ham, and I feel like Tottenham is the better fit. Dutch, you know, we've got a good Dutch contingent at Spurs, so I really like the idea of this to fix Tottenham's defence. And I mean, you could say maybe Anthony Robinson, but I think a more versatile defender would be the way to go. And finally, there's some wildcard shouts. Now, these are some players who are either on loan at some clubs, not getting some minutes at a club currently where they're not getting some minutes, and I think that they should be explored as options. Now, I've got two. My first one's Oscar Bobb. Now, that is quite unrealistic. He's being linked with a move to Borussia Dortmund, which I can, probably see happening. He does sort of fit that Dortmund mentality of, a youngster who could really, really improve. I think the Bundesliga would be suited to his style of play as well. And Manchester City and Dortmund have a good relationship after the Erling Haaland transfer as well, for fellow countryman, Norwegian as well. But yeah, that's one where I think maybe Spurs could explore that in the attacking ascendancy. And then my last one would be Harvey Elliott. Now, Harvey Elliott, I mean, Villa are absolutely flying at the moment, but not getting any game time at Aston Villa after, really being good at the England Under-21 World Cup, and being seen as that versatile player. He can play on the wing, he can play 10, and probably could even play false 9 if he really wanted to. But I think maybe a loan from Liverpool, maybe we're not a rival really, but they might see it as that. But then I could also see a situation where, due to Liverpool and the Salah situation, they were calling from loan and they play him as well. But they're two options that I think Spurs could explore as well. And what was interesting was recently on talkSPORT, Majestic, who I'm on Inside Spurs with a lot, and Rory Jennings were debating different options in the transfer market for Tottenham Hotspur this January.
Let's take it back to Spurs, Madge. January transfer window is fast approaching. When the January transfer window slams shut, what do you want to see at Spurs?
It's a difficult one, isn't it? I want proven Premier League players, but that's going to be so hard to do in January. And even down to the fact that, and obviously Rory saw the game yesterday, Ollie Watkins, bang, comes straight into form. Now, Villa in a title race, they're not going to be selling Ollie Watkins or letting him go at any point, because, having an in-form Ollie Watkins going into a game against Arsenal when they're both at the top of the league, wow, didn't it make for good football stories, that? So you're just looking against Semenyo. Looks like this just won't be done. It's such a shame as well. Again, not doing business correctly when you could have got him in the summer, perhaps, if you put the deal together correctly with the right wages in front of him. Now, Manchester City, they're in the title race. They're not likely to let anyone go. So the Savinho option, I don't think that's there. And again, has he really pulled up that many trees, the money that we're going to have to pay for him? Rory, I like the way that you talk it straight as well. You're looking at what's needed at Spurs. We all know desperately we need a left-sided player. Who's out there in the Premier League that you look at and think that player to Spurs that could make a difference?
Do you know what, Majestic? What I think Tottenham need, I know this will chime with the way you see the situation. Tottenham Hotspur, over the years, we've been discussing it today. Tottenham, regardless of what they've won, regardless of where they finish in the league, they've always been a team that's been beautiful. They've always had iconic footballers, whether it's Klinsmann, whether it's Ginola, whether it's Ricky Villa before my time, whether it's Glenn Hoddle, Chris Waddle, Gareth Bale, Teddy Sheringham. Yeah. They've always been superstars. What I feel like Tottenham need, and I know this is a very difficult thing to manage to get in a January transfer window, but I feel like Tottenham needs something to inspire the fans. I think they need at least a definition of a superstar, something to get behind, something to get the fans on the edge of their seat. Because at the moment, like a moment ago, and I know that I think at least it would have made you cringe, Darren Ambrose tried to convince me that Xavi Simons was a superstar.
Oh, no. I don't know if you heard. I said he's as close to a superstar that we have.
Listen, where he's come from, the teams that he's been in and around, the fact he's been in the Barcelona academy, etc. There's a superstar in the making. You're right in terms of he isn't. But again, you mentioned Gareth Bale. Gareth Bale wasn't a superstar when he came to us. 38 games until he actually won a game. Even Berbatov, Modric, Heung-min Son, all of these big players that we have, they want. I always say this. This is always my little sort of pub quiz question: is when did Spurs last buy a superstar? It was 1994 when we bought Jurgen Klinsmann when he was a superstar. You know, you could argue Van der Vaart maybe, but he was at the tail end of his sort of Real Madrid career and he wasn't really putting up trees there. So it is hard to go and get that superstar now. You mentioned David Ginola, right? David Ginola, he won Player of the Year at Spurs. This is how good he was when we finished 11th. Imagine winning the PFA Player of the Year.
Yeah,
He must
when
be
Man
good.
United won a treble, by the way.
Yeah.
Man United win a treble and David Ginola finishing 11th gets a Player of the Year.
So this is why I go back again to the summer, and do you know who should have come to Spurs? Jack Grealish.
Yeah, I agree.
That is such a
Such
Spurs
an
player.
obvious Tottenham player. I couldn't agree more.
And you know what, Roy, you'd hate it, wouldn't you? Him and Madders, they'll be throwing the darts. They'll be at the darts tonight together.
Yeah.
That bromance there would make you sick.
Yeah,
You'd
no,
love it.
you're completely right. But I think you're onto something. I think Jack Grealish is the kind of player that Tottenham need because Tottenham fans, the identity is that, isn't it? Entertaining maverick footballers. You know, like 1970s throwback maverick footballers. And you're looking at this Tottenham team now and they're all right and they're functional. But if I were to say what Tottenham need this transfer window, and it's almost the impossible thing to get, but it's that, isn't it? It's go and find that gem.
Or are you brave enough to go? At the moment, we've got Mikey Moore, who's currently at Rangers, and he's doing well there. You look into the youth, right? Lucas Barnett-Williams, right? This kid that everyone's talking about. Every time I watch him play for the younger team, right? He's scoring goals. He scored 5 the other week in the Champions League. Luca Williams-Barnett, sorry. What a player! That the prospect there. Are you brave enough to go and get someone like him and try and bed him into the team? Arsenal are doing it with Max Downing, right?
Yeah.
You know, there are clubs out there that are putting there going, you know what, you got a bit, and I think
The fans will be on board.
The fans 100% would be on board. That is one thing with Spurs fans. It's like either you're one of our own or you're a maverick, as Rory said. And at the moment, there isn't anything of that to grasp in our team. So where is the support going to? And again, as always mentioned, this is the first time in over 10 years now, this is a Spurs team without Kane or Son, who are superstars. And this is the first time we're seeing it. So it is a very big transitional year. It's a strange year for the Premier League. Like I said, when I'm looking at the numbers and like how you can be in our position and you feel like we're having the worst season ever, we're 4 points off top 4. And if I remember rightly, the last time we got into that position with Conte, we were 4 points off of top 4, like with a few games to go, and we beat Arsenal on the Wednesday and we won at the weekend. We went into the top 4. So it's like it's so tight right now. But I'm with Rory. The fans need something in that January transfer, whether it's a wonder loan move from someone who's sort of on the bench somewhere or something. It just needs, I think that's what Thomas Frank needs to reignite his sort of energy with the fan base, because I think we need to sort of start again with him. And I'm not done with him yet, because like, I don't know about you guys, you're looking into the sort of market of managers. Who's out there for Spurs? We've tried every angle.
But let me know in the comments down below, who do you think we should sign this January transfer window? I will get in the replies and talk all through the different options. I'm really keen for a debate on this. And if you have enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, hype the video as well. Until next time, guys, up the Spurs. I'll see you guys pretty soon. Bye.